we will be having Kathy Grant now speak as the founder of the Legacy Voices Project. And when I asked her what to call her speech, and we were talking about it, we realized it's a promise I made to my dad. And out of that promise has come just a remarkable amount of passion and dedication over many years to ensure that the numerous stories of Black Canadians in the military are not lost. Just last week, Kathy was honored by the Black History Society of Ottawa, who presented her with the John G. Davidson Award for her groundbreaking work. I have to say on a personal note that I have learned so much working with Kathy on this exhibit, and I also truly appreciate the friendships that have developed along the way. Here she is to share a little bit of what has inspired her passion for researching, preserving, and sharing the history of Blacks in the Canadian military.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. First off, I wanted to read a poem that my dad wrote called Soldier's Farewell. He wrote it, he was 19 years old, and it was on the day that he left Barbados to volunteer to fight for Canada in World War II. There were 300 men from the Caribbean that fought for Canada in World War II, and the Canadian War Museum has a plaque to honor these men. My dad passed away a couple of weeks before he saw his dream realized, and he knew he was dying. He got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and they gave him 6 months to live, and that was back in 2001. I said, "Oh, Dad, you'll be around for another 4 years. Don't do chemo. Just eat healthy, and you'll be okay." And I spent the last few months with my dad, going through many of his artifacts and making a promise to him to honor and recognize all the soldiers, World War I, World War II, and the Korean War, not just the West Indian soldiers. So I'm going to read the poem that my dad penned when he was 19, and it's called The Soldier's Farewell. It goes, "Land of my birth, O dearest earth, beneath whose shining skies I toil, I must now leave thy sacred soil and risk my blood on foreign lands to save thee from the harsh demands which tyrants heartless would impose if none to freedom's cause arose. I go with warm tears in my eyes, for I shall miss thy smiling skies, those festive nights with soft guitars," thank you, Charmy, "my love and all that I hold dear, which just in dreams can now be near. Land of my birth, so filled with mirth, I go, and should I not return, the fires of my love shall burn for thee, bright as the noonday sun, sure as a victory to be won." It was hard looking after my dad for the last couple of months. I just switched jobs, and my dad didn't like being in the hospital. And I said, "Dad, do you want me to look after you?" And he said, "Yes, I have so much to do, Kathy." So I told my boss, I said, "My dad, I have to spend time with him. Either I'll take a leave of absence, or I can work from his apartment." And they said, "Okay." And in going through all of the records, like thousands of pictures and memories that he had going back to like the 30s, 40s, he had about 3 lockers full of material. He gave me a list of all the names of his friends that served and said, "You know what, I want you to make sure that you recognize all of these soldiers." And since then, I made sure that the Department of National Defense honored the soldiers publicly in Montreal. We got in contact with Department of National Defense Department of Veterans Affairs to videotape 16 of these veterans and have these videos available online so that when they pass away, that their memory is there. They're closed captioned, their stories are transcribed through social media. You can look at them on Facebook because we were thinking of the future. And in the number 2 Construction Battalion is very dear to me. I was following the footsteps of Calvin Ruck, which I know that many of you know. He was a friend of my dad. Both of their parents were from Barbados, and he actually signed the book, the number 2 Construction Battalion, and gave it to my dad. And another friend of my dad, Tamus Gale, spent 8 to 10 years documenting and not documenting by going to, this is back in the 80s, going back and forth to Library and Archives Canada, getting in contact with World War I veterans and their descendants across Canada, across the U.S., across the West Indies, and making sure that their stories were documented, as well as other World War I veterans. And I inherited that work. It was gifted to me by his daughter, Padina. And when I was asked earlier in 2015 if I would work and do an exhibit for PAMA, I was honored. We're thinking, I think, about doing Black history, but because of the 100th anniversary of the number 2 Construction Battalion, I thought it was important that we document their stories. It's the 100th anniversary. They fought to make their lives better for their descendants. They wanted life to be better. They experienced a lot of racism, and still they were patriotic. Still they wanted to serve. And it is my honor and it's my privilege to see so many members here from the family, the Parises, Rita Borden, Robert Downey that I work with, and we trade passions. Sometimes I'm known as the angry Black woman, and he's known as the angry Black man, but it's passion, and it's making sure that our stories are told. And I thank you, everybody, for coming here today. Thank you.